Hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Fundamental Cooking. Today we are going to be making hamburgers and talking about the chemistry behind them. For the bun of our burger, you'll need
2 tablespoons shortening, 3 tablespoons white sugar, 1 cup hot water, 1 package active dry yeast, 1 egg beaten, 1 teaspoon salt, 2 1/4 cups all-purpose flour.
Or if you feel that making your own homemade delicious buns will be just too much of a burden on your short human life, then instead you can just make the meat part with
2 pounds ground beef, 1 egg beaten, 3/4 cup dry breadcrumbs, 3 tablespoons evaporated milk, 2 tablespoons Worcestershire sauce, 1/8 teaspoon cayenne pepper, 2 cloves garlic minced.
And if you would like to dress up your burger later on, we recommend buying these as well.
Lettuce, tomato, pickles, cheese of your preference, onion, any sauce as well. We recommend ketchup and mustard. Firstly, you'll need to preheat your oven to 425 degrees Fahrenheit or 220 degrees Celsius. In a large bowl, combine 2 tablespoons shortening, 3 tablespoons sugar, and 1 cup of hot water. Set this mixture aside and let it cool until it is lukewarm.
So I've added in 1 packet of active dry yeast that is at room temperature to the lukewarm mixture, and it's only at this temperature that it will be able to activate. If the mixture is too hot, the yeast will die, and if it's too cold, the yeast won't be provided with the required energy to activate. The sugar in the mixture is very important. The yeast uses oxygen to convert it into energy, and in turn produces carbon dioxide bubbles, which is why these rolls are fluffy as opposed to tough, dense flatbreads.
Next, we need to add in 1 egg, 1 teaspoon salt, and 2 1/4 cups of all-purpose flour. Let the dough rise, allowing the carbon dioxide bubbles to form. Leave it for 2 hours in a warm environment and the dough should approximately double in size.
Now what's happening on a molecular level is that the dough is being fermented. The yeast and bacteria inside the dough convert carbohydrates to CO2, causing gas bubbles to form. These bubbles expand inside the dough, making the dough appear larger. This process is very similar to the making of beer, and as a result has been known to resemble the smell of beer as well.
In the meanwhile, grease a baking sheet for your rolls. The layer that you put on the sheet acts as a barrier so that the food doesn't stick to it.
By now, the dough has reached its maximum size, so you can take it out of the bowl and divide it evenly into 8 pieces. Place them evenly spaced apart on your baking sheet. Your oven will have most likely heated up to the correct temperature by now, so you can put in your rolls and bake them for about 10 minutes. Now, 2 things are happening to the dough to heat it up. Firstly, the dough is being heated by conduction. The pan transfers energy directly to the dough, causing a chemical reaction in the bread that makes it solidify. The bread solidifies because the flour in it contains gluten, which hardens at high temperatures and thusly creating the baked bread. The gas bubbles from the yeast reaction create the fluffy texture which you're used to in bread. I guess you could say that's some fantastic science. Secondly, the bread is also being cooked by convection. Convection is the action of energy being indirectly transferred to an object by means of heated air. Looks like they're done now. Now it's time to make the hamburger patty. So you'll need to mix the ground beef, breadcrumbs, evaporated milk, Worcestershire sauce, egg, cayenne pepper, and garlic together with your hands. After everything is well incorporated, you'll need to divide and form the mixture into 8 hamburger patties. After that, you need to lightly oil the grill grate. The oil on the grate improves the transfer of heat through conduction used to cook the hamburger. The grate has tiny pores on it, and when they're filled with oil rather than air, the heat is transferred through the meat faster than it would be if the pores were filled with air. Using a metal spatula, put the patties on the grill. Let them sit for 5 minutes. You should never use a plastic spatula when handling especially hot food items, as plastics melt quickly due to their lower melting points than metals like aluminum used for cooking utensils. Now for some patty science. Ever wonder why raw meat turns a different color after it's been cooked? Well, it's actually a fascinating chemical reaction called the Maillard reaction, or browning, which admittedly sounds significantly less fun. It's actually quite similar to the process of caramelization in the fact that both are forms of non-enzymatic browning. However, they should not be confused as caramelization occurs with sugar. The Maillard reaction is a chemical reaction between an amino acid and a reducing sugar, and most often heat has to join in the fun too. Generally, these reactions only begin to occur at above 285 Fahrenheit or 140 Celsius. Once you have flipped the burgers, to prevent that burger from being forever provolone, you can add a slice or two of cheese if desired. Then keep cooking them until they have reached the desired amount of doneness or they're well done, which is my chef-rinse. Then use your metal spatula, hint hint, to move your meat-tastic burger. Okay, I admit I always tend to butcher my meat puns. Anyway, move your burger to your homemade bun. I recommend cutting the bun in half before completing this step. Now for the saucy part, adding the condiments. Now pickles are kind of a big deal. Once upon a time, all pickles were cucumbers. The cucumbers were then marinated in vinegar and an assortment of other spices, and 2 weeks later they became the pickles you know and love. Now some of you are probably wondering, what's the chemistry behind this pickle-ulier transformation? Well, what happens is that the cucumbers go through something called fermentation. Fermentation is a series of chemical reactions brought about by microorganisms or enzymes that split complex organic compounds into simpler compounds. What this does is break down the flesh of the cucumber and allow it to become softer and better marry with the flavors of the herbs and brine of the vinegar. Alright, now all there is left to do is eat our burger. Till next time!